So this is the Launchpad board from Texas Instruments. This sells for $4.30 from Texas Instruments online store. Cutting open the bag itself is an electrostatic bag that protects the board from static electricity. So this is the board, and the big component in the middle is a chip called the microcontroller chip, the MSP430 chip. This is the main part of the board. The top left side has a USB connector, and this is where you would connect your USB cable from into the board like this, and the other end plugs into your computer USB socket, and that would power up the board from the USB cable, and running the Muppy editor software you can program the microcontroller, the MSP430, on the Launchpad board. So taking that off, taking a little closer look at the board itself, you can see at the bottom left hand side there's a little push button here, and there's another little push button over here. The one on the left has got a little label called with its P1.3. This is actually an input, is connected directly to the to one of the pins of the MSP430 microcontroller chip, and allows you to apply an input to your program. So if you write a program, you can look at that pin and look at the state of that push button to see whether it's pressed or not. On the right side there's another pin here. This one's got the word reset. This pin will reset your program that's running on the microcontroller and allows it to be restarted. At the bottom you'll see there's a couple of little LEDs. They are very small, and they've got two little labels next to them, LED 1 and LED 2. These are the red and green LEDs that you can control from the microcontroller, and directly above them there are these little black links. Now if you don't want to use the LEDs, you can pull these little links out, and they're little black small links which join the connection from the microcontroller to the LED. So pulling them out will disconnect them, and they won't be used you won't be able to use them in your program. Okay, normally keep it plugged in like that. There. So on the sides of the board, on the left side and on the right side, you'll see a line of pins, and these pins are actually connected directly across to the respective pins on the microcontroller chip. So they're labelled. This one at the top here is labelled VCC, meaning positive supply. This one here is P10, and it's got in brackets after it LED 1. So this pin goes to the LED at the bottom, and it also goes to this pin here, and to that pin of the microcontroller. And P1.0 is a pin name that can be referenced from within your program running on the microcontroller. So these pin labels go from P1.0 all the way down to P2.2 on this side, and on the right side we've also got similar labels, slightly different though. And down at the bottom right side there are three more pins which are slightly separated. They've got ground, GND, GND and VCC, and that's ground, ground and VCC. Ground meaning 0 volts connection, and VCC meaning a positive supply connection. You would connect to these pins when you're connecting an external power supply like a battery or a power supply to power up your board. So with the pins on the microcontroller on the edge of the side, you would connect that to your external inputs and outputs signals. And so using a little jumper wire like this, which has got a little receptacle on the end, you plug that into your pin, say our pin P1.0, which is our, and then the other end can be plugged into a breadboard. Now, here's a breadboard. You can get these from Radio Shack, you can buy them online, they're quite commonly available, and if you look out, you can get good deals on these sometimes. So you can put a little pin, you can get these little pins which plug into the breadboard, and then with this jumper wire now we can plug the other end of the jumper wire into the pin that goes into the breadboard. So there we've made a connection from the Launchpad board from P1.0 onto a pin in the breadboard. The breadboard has lots of little holes in it, and these holes here are joined together to form a connection underneath. Okay. So more about the chip. The microcontroller chip itself, you need to be aware of what the chip number is. The chip number is actually written underneath on the top of the chip, and it can be a little bit difficult to see, and so you have to get it get the light on it just right. So this one here says MSP430 G23553. So that chip number is what's needed when you come to program the part using the MUPI editor software. You need to enter that number into your program so that the compiler knows which chip is to program. Now the chip itself has pins around it. This is a 20-pin device, so there's 10 pins on one side and 10 pins on the other side. Pin 1 is labelled on the Launchpad board, but is always the pin that's at the bottom left hand side when you've got the next to the notch or dimple that that's on the chip. So this is pin 1. Now, one of the good things about the Launchpad board is that the chip, the microcontroller, can be taken out. You can, once you've programmed it, you can actually take it out. And if with a screwdriver, I'm putting a screwdriver underneath the chip here, and you can twist that, the flat-bladed screwdriver, you can actually prise out the chip, and it comes out quite easily. But you've got to be careful about not bending the pins, because once you bend the pins, they are prone to snap off. So here's the chip, and here are the pins underneath it. See it focus or not. And with that, now you can plug that into your breadboard, and with your jumper wires you can connect to different parts of, you can make up a circuit, an electronic circuit on the breadboard using the MSP430 microcontroller. So when you're done with it there and you want to reprogram it, you take it out of the breadboard and you plug it back into your Launchpad. But make sure you plug it back in the right way round. Make sure that there we go, that pin 1 here on the Launchpad is aligned to the dimple, the notch on the chip itself. Okay. Finally, there are a couple of other things on this board. There are some links at the top here which allow the top part of the board, which is used for programming the your microcontroller, to be connected to the microcontroller, and you can disconnect it if you want. No real need to disconnect it. That is about it. Oh, one final thing, the voltage that you need to if you're not connecting this to a computer, then there will be no power on the Launchpad, and if you want to use it, power it up, you'll need an external power supply, usually a battery, and the voltage needs to be between 2.2 volts to about 3.6 volts. no more than 3.6 volts, because that's the maximum voltage that the MSP430 can stand. So, and you would connect them using jumper wires to these pins, ground and VCC.